Welcome to the Encouragement for Real Life podcast. I'm Julie Lefebvre, your host. Life is remarkable, sometimes raw, and always real. And some days we could use a little extra encouragement for our real lives. Here you'll find that, along with personal life-impacting stories, helpful life hacks, timely inspiration, biblical insight, and a fresh perspective. The Encouragement for Real Life podcast equips you to be a light in this world and to shine bright wherever God has you. I'm glad you're here today. Well, welcome to the Encouragement for Real Life podcast. I am thrilled that you are here today. Of course, in every episode, my hope is that you find truth and hope and encouragement for your everyday life. And so in today's episode, it's our guest episode for the month. And it's a special treat, I believe, that we get to just hear from someone who is so near and dear to my heart. All year long, my guests are those who have directly impacted and influenced my life for good. And so this month, I have the deep honor of introducing you to someone who has greatly shaped my life and my faith in immeasurable ways. She's an ordained minister. She's the founder of a local mission. She's a woman that I call a dear friend, and she has been my Christian mentor for years. And she's the one who pointed me to Jesus. In that fateful night in 1991, I share this in my book Right Now Matters. I was living with her daughter, Tina, at the time, and I put my faith and trust in Jesus that night, and my life has never been the same since. And so this wonderful woman's name is Reverend Barbara Furman. I call her Barb. And her story is one of deep surrender, of unwavering faith, and glorify God through every season that she has walked through. Even in the midst of suffering and hardship, life has not always been easy for her. But she walks through life just trusting God and wanting to follow him and to honor him. And so her mission remains the same still today, to follow Jesus and help others do the same. So I believe that her words are going to bless you today. They're going to stir in your heart and strengthen your faith. And I think that they're going to remind you of the beauty found walking closely with your Creator. So no matter what season you're in. So if you're ready for some encouragement and hope, let's get into this episode. Well, welcome to the podcast today. Someone very special in my life, and I cannot wait for you who's listening to hear from her. So welcome to the podcast, Reverend Barbara Furman. Barb, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, Julie. I'm so glad you asked me. It's good to be here.
I am so glad too. I'm so glad that you are here. And I know you I'll call you Barb, or my kids call you Grandma Barb. And you're like my mentor. You're like my second mom, my mentor,
Yes. Feel like your second mom. Yes.
Yeah. And it's just been such a blessing to have you in my life all these years. And I share in my book, Right Now Matters, in chapter 6, that Barb is the one, her and her daughter, Tina, who is my best friend, led me to the Lord back in 1990? Yeah, 1991.
Okay.
Yeah, long time ago.
Time ago.
Yeah, so Barb,
exciting time in your life. And
yeah.
It's a blessing to be the one on the other end of that. All the people that came before me that continued to teach you things and show you things. And then Tina and I got to be the last that led you to the Lord. It's a blessing.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a gift to have that person be you and Tina. Yeah. In my life. So Barb, there's probably, I'm going to call you Barb. I know that that's probably what you prefer, right?
Yeah.
But you are an ordained minister, and there's probably someone listening today that doesn't know who Reverend Barbara Furman is. So Would you tell us about you, who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about, just anything you want to share?
Okay. Well, as you said, Julie, I'm ordained in the United Methodist Church. It's been nearly 30 years. That doesn't seem possible.
Wow. No, it
And
doesn't.
yeah, it's been a long time. And I've had several ministries, several callings. I'm going to say callings,
Yeah.
because when I think about it, when I think about my passion, I think I don't necessarily think so much about my callings, but I think about I want to please God. That's really my passion.
Yeah.
Whatever He calls me to do, I want to do it to the best of my ability, and I want to be obedient to it, and that's where my heart is. So I'm going to say my passion is to please God and glorify Him, however
Mhm.
He chooses to use me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you do that so well. Yes. And you have a family, right? I mean, just tell us any other details about a little more about who you are as a person.
Well, Julie, as you remember, it's been nearly 6 years ago that went to bed one night, got up the next morning, and my life had changed. And I had developed pretty serious autoimmune disease, a couple of them actually. I couldn't walk, couldn't drive. I mean, couldn't go to the grocery store, something as simple as that. And there was no more ministry for me. I mean, it was over just
Mhm.
quickly. And so I've been retired. I've been retired since then. And it really hurt. It really hurt. I grieved. I grieved a lot. And but I had to work my way through it with the Lord. It's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to do. But I feel I've kind of gotten past that, and maybe not totally past it, but I can see uh where, initially, I thought my life was over, and
Right.
what's left for me now? I mean, I didn't even feel like I had my identity anymore because nobody called me Pastor Barb anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Yeah.
was
Right.
called all the time. And
Yeah.
I I just felt like I had no purpose anymore. And then after struggling with that, like I said, grieving over that for 2 or 3 years, maybe four, I finally came to the realization that, you know, I've really grown in this time. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm in a place now where I couldn't have been without all that happening to me. I'm stronger. I'm
Mhm.
closer to God than I've ever been in my life. I mean, I need Him. We are like pals, buddies. He's my friend, my creator, my redeemer. He's my God. I mean, he's
Yeah.
me. And he's just with me all the time. And I live alone, and he's just there. And I just never felt this close to him.
Mm.
And it's prepared me for heaven, really, because I've been studying more, I've been praying more, you know, uh, trying to get
Yeah.
closer to him as close as I can. So for that reason, I feel a lot of good came from that. I think it's
Yeah.
in Romans 8:28, Paul says, all things work together for good for those who love God. We're called according to his purpose. And he turned this disaster, this horrible, horrible thing in my life. He brought so much good from it. So much
Yeah.
good.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, I
Someone
haven't been,
listen.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Go
I
ahead. No,
haven't been
no, go ahead.
doing much ministry for the last 6 years, unfortunately. My
Mm.
granddaughter got married last year, Grace, and she wanted me to do her wedding. I just didn't know if I could do it or no. With this disease that I have, it's very painful and fatiguing, and there's no cure for it. And I mean, in a sense, sometimes I walk kind of crooked and things like that. But I thought I'm going to make a commitment to do this. And I did. And you know what? The Lord just blessed it. He really blessed it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
probably the last one I'll ever do. But I was so
Yeah.
glad I could do that. I miss doing those things, but I've got to accept it. It says we should praise God. The Bible says we should praise God at good times and bad.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty much at peace right now with everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. And you did a fantastic job because we were at that wedding and
Yeah.
just watching the Lord just shine through you. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And you'd never know that you were, struggling with a disease. God just carried you through that. And I know we had a good conversation about that afterwards. And
Yes.
yeah. And so it just goes to show that he's still using you in ways that may be different than
Yes.
you're
And
used to.
we're a believer. If he's not using us, then we wouldn't be here.
Right.
Who knows?
Right. Yeah. And the words that you've just said, someone is listening today that needs those encouraging words. So thank you for sharing that part of your story because it's a big part of your story now, and you're not giving up. You're drawing close to the Lord. And I mean, I've always looked at you as the woman who just has a really strong, vibrant relationship with God. And for you to say that you're more close to him now than you ever have been, that's amazing to me. Yeah. And it's so encouraging.
It changed me. And at first I thought it was for the worse, but really it was for
Yeah.
the better. It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. And during this time though, too, you put out your book. You wrote a book,
Yes.
right? While you've been dealing with your autoimmune, he's still using you as you wrote your book. And it's called
It's
It
called,
Is Well With My
yeah,
Soul.
I have a
Right, go
copy
ahead.
right here. I thought I would.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
It's called,
It's called Go ahead.
It Is Well With My Soul, My Story. And
Yeah.
it's an autobiography about tough times of my life when I was a child and even in my marriages. And I wrote this book because I felt God told me to write it. And
Mhm.
when I was writing it, it was probably one of my most sickest times. I had a
Wow.
lot of pain. But as I wrote it, God used my writing to distract me from
Mhm.
all of that pain.
Yeah.
And so that was really good. And I wanted to be obedient to God. I wanted to be faithful to him and do what he asked me to do. And I always had thought about writing a book, but here I was older and I thought, probably isn't gonna happen now. But I had the time to do this,
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's one reason that God allowed to happen to me. What happened, I don't know. But God has to allow it, right?
Yeah. Right.
Because he's the ultimate power. And I shared a little bit in here about how I would fight God and he would carry me back or drag me back towards that truth. We've had a lot of conversations early on before I did get sick, what he had me doing and how I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't think I could do the things he was asking me to do. And one thing is when he told me to go to college, and can't remember how old I was. I think I was 32, maybe a little older than that. I almost flunked out of high school. I said, Lord, you want me to go to college? What am I going to do in college? And, it took a long time for me to surrender to that, but I finally did, and he blessed me through those 4 years of college. And I took psychology and criminal justice as a double major. I thought, well, I'm kind of interested in those things, and maybe I won't flunk them. And so that ended up being what God was going to lead me into after my college days. But he already had it planned out.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did he lead you to? I know the story, but
Okay.
yeah, what did he lead you to? Yeah, that was like a kind of like a, I want to say not a turning point in your life, but it probably
It
was,
was a big turning
you
point in my
know?
life because
Yeah.
I swore if I ever got out of high school, I would never go back to school again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after I graduated, I was fortunate enough to get a job with the Department of Correctional Services, and I was with them nearly 7 years. And I felt God spoke to me, show me things. He speaks to us all in different ways, and I felt that He was telling me that He wanted me to go to seminary. And I said, "Seminary?" I mean, I couldn't even believe it, Julie. Me? I mean, no, I'm not equipped. I don't have the right stuff to go to. I didn't even have the right stuff to go to college, let alone seminary. And so, we went around and around with that, and finally, I said to the Lord, "You know this, but I will share with your audience. I've always had a fear of speaking. Oh my goodness,
Mhm.
it was really bad." And I finally said to Him, I said, "Lord, I'll go, but don't make me preach. I cannot preach." And so anyway, I did go to seminary, and then the Lord led me to, and I did have to preach, by the way.
Mhm. And you're a great preacher.
Yeah, he had to teach. He had to teach me, and
Mhm.
that led to I don't know, a job at the jail. I think
Uh-huh.
it was my last year of seminary when I got on at our local jail here as a chaplain, and so I was still kind of in training, and I would meet with the inmates, mainly men, because I think at the time we only had like 8% of the population were women, so it was mainly men. And I just I just fell in love with them. I mean, all of them. I mean, God gave me a love for them. He put them in my heart. It makes me cheer up when I think about
Mm.
it. Um,
Yeah.
put that in me, an unconditional love for the incarcerated and poor and the homeless and people that are looked down by society. And
Yeah.
because I was there. I mean, I didn't feel good enough either. I know what it's like to feel like you're a nobody or you're an outcast because I was quite a rebel when I was younger, and I had a very, very low self-esteem, and I couldn't shake it, and it stayed with me. I mean, it stayed with me a lot of my life. It left a lot of scars, and I guess maybe that's why I was so shocked that God would call me to seminary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I started at the jail, and what I noticed was there was a pattern with the inmates. They would get arrested, come into jail, they'd come to church, they would accept Jesus, and then they would finally get released. Some of them went on to prison, but some of them got released. And well, here they were coming back again in a couple weeks. And it was just a revolving door. I think that's used quite a bit. And it was like
Mhm.
they would go out, they'd come back in, go out, come back in. And I took a little retreat one time, and I just went to a hotel, and I wanted to spend time with the Lord. I wanted to get away from my surroundings. I didn't want any pressures on me, like, well, maybe I should throw in a load of clothes. Maybe I can just do this or that. I totally wanted to be alone with the Lord without any thoughts of house cleaning or doing other.
Yeah.
And so I took myself on a little retreat, and I began to pray. And I asked the Lord, I said, "What can I do, Lord? Why are they coming back? Why do they go out and come back and go out and come back?" And I felt that He said to me over a certain period of time in different ways that there needs to be a place in the community where people can come that are getting out of jail and prison, or the poor, the homeless. Anybody can come, and they can
Yeah.
be loved on, and they can be encouraged, and they can take a Bible study and come to worship, and they can know that they're accepted and that we're not looking down on them. And so that's when that's when Mission of Hope started. And
Uh-huh.
the Lord did much with that ministry. And it's my
Mm,
was continuing to do a lot with it now.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was there for what, 5, 6 years. And
Yes, I was hoping that
I,
you would bring that up.
yeah. And you're,
Didn't
I
they
mean, God,
really need you or something? I don't know. I don't remember.
yeah. Yeah. You had breast cancer.
Oh,
And I called you just distraught because it was like my own mother having breast cancer. And I said, "What can I do for you?" And you said, I still laugh at it because I'm like, this is not what I wanted. But you said, "Can you go help at the mission one day a week?" And I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. But I couldn't say no to you.
yeah.
And so I showed up there on a Tuesday, and it was my mission Tuesdays for a very long time, and I changed my heart for the hurting and the homeless through Mission of Hope. And that was a turning point in my life when I just started seeing those people, that the
Yeah.
society labels. Um, I just started to see them as real people, and that they were no different than me. And they just made different choices than I had made. But so thank you for I mean, God just used you in so many ways to change so many lives through that ministry while you were involved, including mine. So thank you for starting it, being brave enough to just be obedient to the Lord and step out and do it.
I mean, I asked Mom if she would come in and help me, and we rented a little office and made
Yeah.
a bunch of food bags. And I mean, that's how it started. People would come in
Yeah.
and they needed a ride to fill out an application for work, and I'd load them up in my Jeep. I'd take them there, and it just slowly started coming together. We ended up with a shelter and
Yeah.
worship services and Bible studies. And it was you, Julie, that suggested that we do the Bible studies over
I
lunch.
did?
People came in for lunch.
Hmm.
And
I don't
and then
remember that,
sat
but I
down.
remember the Bible studies. Yeah.
Yes,
Keep
and then
going.
they came in to eat, which most of the time we had homemade food.
Yep.
And I felt that the Lord said, "There, give give these folks the best. They deserve
Yeah.
the best." And so I wanted to give them good things. So often in their lives, they never had a new pair of shoes or a nice coat or been able to
Yeah.
sleep in a decent shelter. So we always try to give them the best.
Yeah.
God blessed us so much. Remember,
Yeah.
Julie? I mean, it's like somebody would come in and they needed a pair of shoes, and somebody would come in the back door and they were donating a pair of shoes that was that person's size. I mean, stuff like that
Yeah.
happened all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
We just watched
Yeah.
it do one miracle after the other. It was a
Yeah.
blessing, that ministry.
It
It was a
was.
big blessing, yes.
Yeah. And that's when after I left, that's what I missed the most was seeing God tangibly at work right in front of my eyes because I
Yeah.
saw it there every day. Like the day one morning, someone donated a huge box of ice cream cones. And we were like, what are we going to do with these ice cream cones? That very afternoon, another person brought in a whole bunch of ice cream. And we're like, we can't plan this. It's totally God.
It,
So
it, it was,
they
yes.
yeah. So they got ice cream cones that afternoon as a treat. I mean, it was just amazing what God would do.
It
Yeah.
was.
So do you have a favorite story or something that comes to mind that even just chokes you up today about maybe something God has done through any of your callings or at the mission or at the jail? Or is there one certain story that maybe stands out to you that you would love to share with us?
I can't think of any one thing really, but there were so many. I mean, it was like every time I turned around, like you just said, you could see God working. You could
Yeah.
see him loving on people. You could see the
Yeah.
people, they would first come in and they would be, reluctant to trust us or they were checking us out or waiting to see if we could be trusted. And we saw that all the time. And it took a while, but so many of them, they warmed up to us and they became our friends. I think you're the one that first started calling them friends. These are our friends.
Wow.
Mm. And then they uh, got involved into taking care
Yeah.
of the place.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that became their place.
Yeah.
I mean, it was no longer really Mission of Hope. It was their place because
Yeah.
they were doing the work. They were carrying tables up from the basement. And when we had lunch, first Sunday of the month, they were
Yeah.
they were stacking chairs. They were making the food. Uh, it was just such a blessing to see them just turn around and give of themselves to other
Yeah.
people after maybe they had had years of taking, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
watching people
That's right.
change,
Yeah.
and I used to say this, you may see somebody and think that person just by looking at him, say, wow, has he changed? He probably hasn't changed at all. And if you would have been there and watched him when he first came in, he went from here to here. And we were the
Yeah.
only ones that saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And God showed it to us all the time. And
Yeah.
what a miracle ministry that was. And I am just so grateful for it that I had that
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think you're the only one grateful that it was it was in my life and in so many others' lives. Yeah. Yeah. It warms my heart to talk about it because it
Me
was such a
too.
big
I could
part of
talk
my
about it
life
all
for so
day.
long.
And I
Yeah.
remember a guy came in one time with it was snowing and he had tennis shoes on, no socks, and he had
Oh,
snow packed around his feet inside of his shoes. And somebody went upstairs and got him a new pair of socks. I mean, we always try to give people the best, as you know.
mm,
New
mm,
socks, nice clothes, sometimes new
yeah.
jeans, or new
Yeah.
coats, and his eyes lit up when he saw those socks, and they were brand, you know, and he couldn't hardly
Yeah.
believe they were brand.
Wow. Yeah. You have story after story of
Yeah,
these,
there
don't
is,
you?
and that's just loving on him, the way Jesus
Yeah.
was on him, and
Yeah.
it was just so neat to watch him work, to watch him minister.
Yeah. Yeah. And, God gives us his best, so why would we not give,
That's right.
the people that came in our best?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm. Yeah. On the podcast this summer, we're talking about summer. It's called a summer of abundance, and so we're looking at what abundant life is. And I look at your life, and it looks to me as it's abundant. But what would you? How would you describe your life as abundant right now versus maybe even what it looked like years ago? Um, or how would you define an abundant life today
Well,
in your current
well, many
circumstances?
years ago, well, before I got sick, things were just starting to come together for me. I was
Yeah.
starting to get a lot of funerals, and that's after I'd retired from the mission. Started getting a lot of work, Popa Supply, and felt so good about that. Being able to be independent and make a living for myself, and thought, wow, someday maybe I could travel. Maybe I could make enough money to travel, or um, go places and buy some new things, and as I look back on that today, that success and prestige and all of that is not an abundant life, not for me. And really, my abundant life started after I got sick. I am
Wow.
being serious, Julie. I-
Wow.
Closeness that I have with God now, and I pray so much more than I ever prayed before. I read more than I've ever read before. I mean, I just want to please him, and I feel like there's not a whole lot I can do, because I can't work or anything, but there are some things I can do, you know. And
Yeah.
this is living the abundant life, even though I'm in pain quite a bit, and I can't always do what I want to do, but the Lord's with me, and I just feel so comfortable with him. and
Wow.
peace, peace and
Yeah.
joy that I hadn't had before. And it
Wow.
took that for me to get it.
Mm, that's amazing. That is encouraging. So, kind of on that subject, what would you say to someone who is struggling in their own circumstances today? What would that word of encouragement be that you would have for them because you've been there and you're living it now? How would you encourage her today?
It's hard. I know it's hard to be struggling and think that maybe God has forgotten you. I thought
Yeah.
that lots of times, when is it going to happen for me, God? See other people get blessed and wonder what's wrong with yourself because nothing seems to open up. But I have
Mm.
learned throughout my life in college and seminary and the different ministries God had me in, and through my illness, I have learned that
Yep.
after everything I've been through, after everything I've been through with the Lord, I think the one thing that He showed me, because I must have quit 100 times in my head, but the one
Sure.
thing I really, really got through all of this is don't.
Mhm.
Because no matter how you feel about yourself or how you think that you've missed the boat or it's never going to happen to you, you've got to continue to try. Try to trust Him, try to be obedient, and wait. Wait on God to give you what you've been asking for, because eventually it'll happen. If you don't throw your hands up in the air and say, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Wow. That's really good. Powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Barb.
It's a,
Yeah.
I like to encourage people, Julie, I really do. This book, God told me to write it, so I wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Act of obedience initially. But
Yeah.
as I was writing it, I thought, I really want this book to encourage others.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've ever been where I was at. I'm hoping and I'm praying. I prayed that they would say, she made it. She's Reverend Barbara Rose Furman. She made it. She was down there
Yeah.
and the Lord brought her
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And then I thought too, this is a book that perhaps is going to help the medical community know more about my illness because it's very rare. And uh, if you go to the ER and maybe ask the doctor or the nurse if they've ever heard of NMO or TM, they would say no. And so
Mm-hmm.
I always try to fill them in a little bit on what it is because not too many people have it. And then also I thought about this book. It's 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 a legacy for my
It
children,
is.
children,
Yeah.
my great 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 grandchildren. They may not, they never have met me, but they know me
Yeah.
reading this book,
Yeah.
and I love that.
Yeah. I do
And I
too.
want to leave them something, that would have meaning.
Yes.
I think it's me,
Yeah.
leaving me.
Yeah. 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 I agree with you. And your story is just incredible. I mean, people look at you now and may say, wow, she's got it all together. Sure, maybe she might have an illness, but you you've gone through some things. God has taken you through many things that He has just delivered you from, and you
But
share it all in your book.
it was to get me to this point, Julie. It was
Yeah.
necessary. God had to allow those things to bring me to where I'm at today. There was no
Yeah.
other way I was going to change. I mean, I look back at some of the things I did and things I said and the ways I've acted, and And I was going to say, when you ask about abundant life, what is abundant life? And it's not the money and the power and all of that. What we have in our heart. What abundant life is what we have in our heart and how we treat people. And the choices we make, the good choices that we make, the right choices. That's abundant life.
Yeah. You're right. Man. Barb, I could talk to you for hours.
I could go for hours, Julie.
Yeah, this has been so encouraging and so good. I just appreciate you being on here today. If someone wanted to read your book, where would they find it at?
At Amazon.
Okay.
I think it's $14 or something like that. And
okay.
They have the what do you call that, Julie? Or you
ebook? The ebook?
Yeah, the ebook. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
almost $5 or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's a great book. It's a very good book.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you, Barb, for being on today and just sharing your heart and just who you are and encouraging us through your own words and through your own life. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll sign off for now, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Friend, I pray that this conversation touched you as deeply as it did me. Barb's life is it's a beautiful testimony of faith that endures, not just in the easy or the exciting seasons, but also in the hard and hidden and hurting ones. Her story just simply reminds me especially, that even in suffering, we can glorify God. God's not done with us yet, right? If we're here, He still has something for us to do. He still has purpose and plans for our lives. And even in our humanity and in our weakness, His strength shines through, and that's something that we can absolutely trust, no matter what we're walking through. If today's episode encouraged you at all, would you consider sharing it with a friend who may need to hear this message of hope too? That would just be a wonderful gift. And if you're longing to live a more abundant life in every season, well, I invite you back here next week. Check out the rest of our Summer of Abundance series right here on the podcast. And next week, it's a perfect follow-up after my conversation with Barb as we look at how to stay close to our source, God, and how building a vibrant relationship with Him is the answer. We're going to look at how to do that. So come back next Tuesday and hear more and find that encouragement for your own summer of abundance. So until next time, keep walking closely with Jesus because He is with you through it all. Thanks for being here, and God bless you. Thank you so much for joining me here today. You can find more at julielefebure.com. And until next time, stay encouraged.